How are all of you doing today? I am doing great. I woke up this morning and almost fell on my ass running down the stairs. Have you seen the leaks about Linnea? No, actually, I put Linnea leaks in the title completely by coincidence, and it just turned out that the day I did that was the day we got Linnea leak. Linnea worked for Nephra. She buffs EM, lunar damage, res, and healing. She probably doesn't buff lunar damage as a whole. The 14 lunar damage they're saying is probably the 14% like base damage to lunar crystallize, but she might still work for Nefer just because Nefer last slot options are like so bad that unreliable instructor sucrose is your best option. Nahida is good? No, Nahida is not. Nefer works too, yeah. Like, Nefa and Sucrose are very similar. I mean, Nahida's pretty similar too, but like, C2R1 Nahida is still good and many people have her from the Sumeru days. They shouldn't. Why do you have Nahida's signature weapon? Yeah, put it on Sucrose. Exactly. Have you farmed all your wolf hooks for Varka? I've had enough wolf hooks for Varka since before Varka was announced.
The parasol.
Did she say the parasocial? The parasol should. I see. I was like, how do you know my chat? We can take a look at some updated Zabai calcs and look at a few things about Linnea. Linnea brings Zabai at 170k DPS. Any sort of statement that you make like that, I know you're talking out of your ass. Have you seen Lohen character design? Huh. What does that look like? This is official, apparently. How do I feel about this? 4-star design? I don't know. He looks very Hexerai. Yeah, he's very similar to Albedo. Tougher than Varka according to Varka in Act 6. I mean, you should know better than to take anything Varka says seriously. Like, that is on you. So we have Zabai, Illuga. Illuga is probably gonna end up on a fucking instructor set, isn't he? If Linnea is a lunar crystallized support. Unless Linnea is also on Morningstar. I don't expect that to be the case from what we know. I feel like she does too much to also get a lot of personal damage. Gorou will be better than Illuga here? No, but maybe C6 Gorou is better than Lokon Illuga. Hear me? Sucrose will be better than Illuga here. I hope not, actually. Okay, wait. What type of Linnea should we assume here? Linnea with like a decent size buff and no personal damage. Like 150 EM, 200 EM, and like basically no personal damage. I think is going to be the first assumption. Zabai, Harbinger, since we have a healer, there's no problem with that now. Instructor, Serenade, Fav, base defense, 957. Defense percent, how much do we have? We have 58.3. We have about 30 from subs. Then flat defense, we have like 50 from subs plus 200 from Illuga C4. When you put Fav on Columbina, since Linnea heals already, I think Ember's just better for damage here. Maybe not though. Sagjade Bina. Sagjade is probably better if you can use it. Like if Linnea is team-wide EM buff, it makes Columbina burst even less important. So you probably just do like, in terms of optimal 4-star stuff, it's probably just Sagjade burst every other rotation. How much EM do we get? So we're not full uptime instructor. Sky is 80, Serenade is 120, substats are 80. We're assuming that Linnea gives 200. Instructor is going to be like 90 average. Should get it on 3 of your skills. Maybe 100 average. When you get the burst, it's also instructor buff. Not always. Let's just keep it to 90. 60 from the passive. Yeah, multiplier. 1.35. What was it? 2,000? 20% from the set bonuses. 20% from half uptime Columbina burst. Idlu up passive. That's true. That's another 80 because he's C6. Why not give it Idlu a Serenade if she doesn't need the stats? I think it's very possible that you do need the stats to max out the 14% damage. Maybe she doesn't. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because it doesn't matter which of the two you put on Serenade. If she doesn't do any damage, then I mean neither does Idlu. Idlu damage is kind of goated though. No, it's not. Great Ascension, main stat, substats, Harbinger substat, Harbinger passive, Idlu C6. Now we got Sky as well. Is Columbina Inefa Linnea the new best in slot wheelchair? Yeah, we don't know if she shreds anything other than Geo. For now, I'll assume she doesn't. Because if she does, then she'd be like incredibly broken like everywhere, even without lunar crystallize. Like you get to have Serenade and almost as much shred as VV and probably an EM buff similar to Sucrose. Maybe she is just Molani upscale though, who knows? I guess she wouldn't be Molani upscale, but maybe with Durin, I don't know. Effective defense, total defense. I didn't put damage percent. Oopsie. Do we have any geo damage percent? We have resonance, I guess. Lunar crystallize proc, so 96% of 1447. 1389, that makes sense, I think. Monocytes getting taken down, leakers going off the grid. 2026 is already woeful. Yeah, it's cooked, man. How often do you get the N4? 3.5? No, I'm assuming that on the no burst rotation, you use the skill immediately after N3. So you never get the 4th one. And the lunar crystallize, 302.16 times 1.6 times 2/3. This goes here. I'm an idiot. Number of lunar crystallizes, like 9. It's probably more, right? Like 12. Damage is motion, no. Effective defense times motion value times defense multiplier, and then the shred multiplier, we have 20 shred, and then 30 shred, so that's 50 shred, so 1.2. And then for lunar crystallize, we don't have the defense multiplier. Illuga is going to be on like, I don't know, 900 EM or something. 800 maybe. Georesonance, yeah. We have 20 shred from Georesonance and then 30 from Linnea, which brings us to 50% shred, so enemies are going to be at minus 40, which is times 1.2. Yeah, no Ascendant Gleam bonus here because everyone's from Nalcry. Oh yeah, he does get Linnea EM. You're right, so he's probably around 1,000. Is it really that bad? There's no way. Yeah, yeah, okay. There is no way. I fucking forgot his motion value. And then this one is 451 plus 160, which is 611. There we go. That makes a lot more sense. Isn't 1,000 EM high? We're including the fact that Linnea gives a team-wide EM buff, and we're assuming that buff to be around 200. For now, let's just get a point of comparison with Gorou. Serenade, Instructor, Gorou. His EM is actually going to be lower than this now, right? Because we do get a 5-star artifact set, but we lose like 200 team-wide EM, so it's probably going to be like 900. We lose the 200 from this. We lose the base EM multiplier. We lose the shred. We gain 40 CV. We gain half uptime, 25% defense. And we gain... I love this feature. I love this feature so much. Gone are the days of having 70 tabs open. Dude, gone are the days. You still have 70... Well, yes, but it's not because of this anymore. But yeah, so it's about 10% higher on personal damage for Zajef, assuming 200 EM as the buff. I think it's basically impossible that Linnea has worse personal damage than Gorou, because I don't think it's possible to have worse personal damage than Gorou. I don't think 200 is unreasonable. And unlike Gorou, Linnea's buff is actually going to work on Columbina damage. Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot the Ascendant Gleam. That's true. So I guess it's not entirely true. 10% Ascendant Gleam from Gorou having the lowest base defense you've ever seen. But this is the part I'm more interested in. Alright, Columbina base stat is 14,695. HP percent, 46 points. 0.6 times 2. Sack Jade. Substats. Is that it? EM. How much EM do we get? We do have 120 from Serenade, 80 from Substats, 200 from Linnea, 90 from Instructor. No, it'll be less than 90. Probably about half uptime average. Zajef buff obviously isn't there. Illuga buff. I forgot. Does Illuga buff actually work off field? Yeah, so it does work off field. I wasn't 100% sure, but we have double checked, and it does. It's a lot of personal damage coming from her, huh? Yeah, it turns out team-wide buffs are pretty good. So we're at 160k before looking at Illuga and Linnea contribution, which would probably be, if Linnea isn't built as a, if she's not really a damage character, probably be like, at most, 10k. So it's probably around 165. Why no Illuga procs? Illuga procs only work on field, and Columbina's not on field when her Lunar Crystallize hits. But yeah, like, let's just compare it to the personal damage that you get here. We don't have this 200. Do we get the crit buff? Yeah, but it's bad uptime, right? Why burst every other rotation? Because the burst doesn't provide that much of a buff, and it doesn't do a lot of any real damage. And in order to burst every rotation on a solo Hydro Columbina team, you need a lot of ER. And so if you have a good damage weapon like Sack Jade, you're better off just not losing all of those stats, because Columbina's damage can be really high if you actually build her for damage. We also have this lower, and we have the shred lower. That makes sense, right? You actually gain more damage through Columbina than you gain through Zajef from a character like Linnea. Yeah, and you get a real healer out of it, which is a pretty big deal. How much EM buff are we assuming? We're assuming 200 EM, which I think is kind of reasonable. It's a bit less than what Sucrose gives. Does Linnea heal? Yeah, supposedly she does. But yeah. Like, unironically, just assuming a 200 EM buff, just for Zajef personal damage, it's not really meaningful. It's actually a very small difference, because we already have Shred, and we already get a decent amount of EM, and these teams often are relatively low in the amount of defense you get on Zajef, so Gorou's defense buffs are actually pretty meaningful. Columbina, on the other hand, doesn't benefit at all from the defense buffs. Doesn't have full uptime on Gorou's crit buff, compared to Linnea, that buffs EM, which she does care about. You can see, right, the difference in terms of personal damage, again, assuming 200 EM on Linnea, on Zajef is very small. It's 111 versus 105, right? That's like fucking 5-ish%, 5-6%. On Columbina, it goes from 38k to 48k. It's like 25%. Much, much, much bigger. Can we look at Gorou instead of Illuga now? Yeah, I mean, I guess. Okay, and then we add 412 and 25% divided by 2. That's higher than I expected on Columbina damage. It's also higher than I expected on this, actually. Interesting. Yeah, I guess it's because we have, like, no defense. That's fair. Wait, let me check something. Okay, I'm surprised at how small the difference is for her damage, though. Why is the EM higher? No, it's not. Oh, yeah, I guess it's because of the Ascending Gleam bonus. DI resonance useful. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it does help, like, reduce the gap, right? Like, I expected the gap, like, without it, right, the gap is, like, 15, 16k-ish. And with it, the gap is like 10k-ish. It's not that big of a difference, but like, it does matter. Here we build Gorou for full defense. Okay, Gorou has like the lowest base defense in the game. He's so pathetic. His base defense is fucking 648, man. Like, you build Gorou full defense and he ends up with like 3. And then on top of that, he's on Instructor and he wants Fav and he wants crit rate to proc the Fav. You ain't getting any fucking defense. Like, be so for real right now. Okay, we can take a look at illuga C2 as well. Okay, I should also have the total damage. But, like, okay, here's the thing, right? If I want to have total damage properly, I need to actually include this. 814 base. Defense percent is going to be, like, 20 EM. So, 139 times 3 from the 3 main stats, plus about 120 from substats. The reason I'm doing this is because generally people have more EM on a triple EM main stat and 5-star off piece with a lot of EM substat on the Flower of Feather than they do with an off-piece EM main stat. Because off-piece EM main stat is plus, what, 48? But there are a lot of people have like one Flower of Feather with 100 EM and have like nothing in terms of EM on their instructor pieces. So you tend to end up with more EM just doing that. 139.3 plus 120. We have Serenade. We have instructor 2-piece. We have instructor 4-piece, 120, about 3/4 uptime. Do we have any other sources of EM? We have EM Ascension. And then we assume that Linnea gives like 200, right? And he has his own EM buff. But yeah, you probably would go Query main stat, honestly. I feel like otherwise it's kind of hard to proc the Fav. This makes sense. Alright, I was assuming 1064 instead. Dragon's Bane is better than Fav. Put the Fav in the bag. Number of Lunar Crystallize. Damage should be the same here. And then we'll assume that Linnea does 1 damage. I'm too lazy to calc Gorou damage, so we'll just assume his damage at like 2k. That makes sense, honestly. Maybe she has a longer cooldown on skill burst. Yeah, that's also a possibility for sure. illuga C2. C2, we lose the defense, 30 EM. We also have lower motion value on this shit. Alright. So it looks like C6 Gorou is a little bit better than C2 illuga. Might change if Linnea has a lot of damage, though. Oh yeah, also, we don't actually need the C2 anymore, right? Because illuga can probably be on Serenade. Or sorry, Linnea can probably be on Serenade. But yeah, it might be different if she does a lot of damage. But this is with the assumption that her damage is insignificant. Her cons and sig focus on personal damage. I mean, it might be kind of a llama thing. Where, like, she does good personal damage with cons, but without cons, she doesn't.